Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Gobble, gobble. You're watching the Techstrong Gang. Hey, everyone. It's Alan Schimmel for Techstrong Gang. Happy Wednesday. It's the day before Thanksgiving, and God knows there are enough turkeys out there to go around. But we're not here to talk about that. It is Thanksgiving, where we are thankful. And so today's episode is a special episode of Techstrong Gang. Instead of our usual three story blocks, we're only got one block. It's about 10 things that we're thankful for collectively here at Techstrong Group and maybe in the tech world. And we'll probably throw in some of the things we're personally thankful for. I'm thankful for my editorial brain trust gang members today with me. Let me introduce you to them. We should start off with the lady from San Angelo, Texas, Amanda Rosani. Hey, Amanda, how are you?
Good. How are y'all?
Good. I love it. Y'all are good. But welcome and thanks for joining us here. I see you're in a kind of a festive Thanksgiving colored sweater there, top, Amanda. So thank you for joining in the festivities. Speaking of joining in the festivities, he doesn't look like a turkey. He's not dressed Thanksgiving style, but he is back home in Colorado. He's a future VP analyst, CTO here at Techstrong, Mitch Ashley. Hey, Mitch, how are you?
Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. I'm happy to be on Techstrong Gang. I'm thankful for that.
Okay. We're thankful to have you here. And now joining us from his home up in New York, before he heads down tomorrow morning, I guess to hold one of the strings on the balloons in the parade, it's our Chief Content Officer, Mike Vizard. Hey, Mike, how are you?
I'm good. I don't know about the balloons, but I got my fingers crossed for a Giants upset on Thanksgiving Day.
They're playing the Cowboys, aren't they?
I'm aware of that, so it's possible.
Especially with those two teams, they both kind of stink this year.
I'm not sure who's got the advantage.
Right? I mean, Cooper Rush is going to be quarterbacking. Who's quarterbacking for the Giants? What's his name? Tommy Vealchops?
Yeah, man, I think he's got a couple hours off from the deli, and they're going to let him play.
No, Tommy Cutlets. That's his name. Tommy Cutlets. I knew it's something to do with veal. All right, go easy on me. It's Thanksgiving.
It's good. It's all good.
No respect. Hey, I got to fix my mic here. They're telling me in my little earpiece. Hopefully that worked. So guys, as I mentioned, it is Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving. I wanted to run down 10 things that, our editorial team has come up with that we should be thankful for, and we can discuss them. Now, we do have 10, so we can't spend a half hour or 20 minutes on any one. Though if it's anything like this year, the first one will probably suck all the oxygen out of the room. And that's one of the things we're thankful for, generative AI. Are we thankful for it? I think most of our writers are, unfortunately. But I don't know, team, what do you think?
I'm definitely thankful for it. I use it all the time for so many things. I'm constantly coming up with new uses for it.
Fantastic.
I'm generally positive about it, but I am a little concerned that it's making us intellectually lazy. And we're kind of taking the output, and we're not quite looking at that closely enough and saying, is this the full story, or is this the all there is to say about all this? And I feel like we need to make sure that the humans are in that conversation, because the humans are still smarter than the machines for the most part.
For now.
I'm just thankful we have something better than spell checkers and grammar checkers. Nothing has happened to improve and help our writing for the most part. So I'm not saying generative AI always improves our writing, sometimes not, but I'm most excited about it just because you can see the impact it's having in DevOps and the software development lifecycle, particularly software development. I just wrote a little piece about Tab9 and their announcement recently. And it's every week. There's something new coming. So it's a fast changing environment. It's a great time to be doing what we do.
A few things I like to use it for, it speeds up my research. It's a lot faster to do research, and it's great for summarizing things.
Yeah. I'm looking forward though. I think this whole agentic AI thing is going to blow away everything else that we've seen so far, and that's going to be more interesting to me in the sense that we will re-engineer business processes. And so I kind of like think we're at the end of phase 1 of Gen AI, and I really like what I'm seeing in phase 2, but cross your fingers, it's not clear to me how we're going to manage all these agents, but uh, a lot of things that we do today that are just scut work and toil and things that nobody enjoys doing, we ain't going to be doing those no more soon.
Let's hope.
So, bah humbug. Bah humbug.
I'm sorry, wrong season.
Well, no, where have you, they got Christmas stuff up in Costco. I was there yesterday. So look, yes, generative AI has given us a giant step on the road to Wally World. And I don't mean where the Griswolds go on vacation. I mean the movie where we're all fat and tepid, rolling around in servo chairs because our AI does everything for us. I think we're looking at it just from terms of, what it does for writing or helping our editing tasks. But Mitchell, you mentioned DevOps. Let's be real. There will be a time in the future where most software is written by AI, and we'll all be developers, whatever developer means that. We're going to, Mike, we saw this with calculators. People can't do basic arithmetic, let alone scientific calculations. Remember when they used to teach you how to do cosine and trigonometry? How to
About
do
the slide rule.
yeah.
I'm missing
People
those skills.
can't do that no more.
Nobody knows how to spell either, but I'm not quite sure that it matters.
Maybe it doesn't matter. I think it matters. I think people learning how to think for themselves, how to make decisions, how to do research. Yeah, you're talking to a boy when I get a report. Thank God my mother bought us the World Book Encyclopedia, and I was able to sit in my house and use my World Book to do my research. But if that wasn't enough, I'd go down to the library and I'd pull out that little index card thing and look up what your Dewey Decimal Systems and find real books on stuff. Now, I'm not saying I walked 5 miles uphill and 5 miles uphill back to school every day. But
In the snow.
in the snow with no shoes. But I worry about, are we heading to Wall-E? That movie, Wall-E.
I am concerned that we get to a point where we do lose a lot of our skills. And then if some sort of apocalypse thing happens or technology goes down and none of us have any of those skills anymore, it would be problematic.
Be a great Mad Max kind of TV series.
Or Mad Magazine.
I'm sorry, that already happens. You go to the store and the cash register's down and nobody knows how to add anything up, so they can't do anything.
I've seen that happen. And I'll tell you something else though. And again, I don't mean to be too cynical, but I'm just in a cynical mood today. I'm sorry. Has generative AI created yet another divide between the haves and the have-nots? I know this is a subject I talk about a lot, but it's great for us 4 white people to be sitting here talking about what we use generative AI for, sitting in the United States of America. Love, in whatever form it's in right now, it's still the USA. And there are a lot of people in this world who would think it was some sort of black magic if we showed them some of the things we do with generative AI here. And how long is it going to take to improve their lives? Will it ever improve their lives? Or is this just something for the bourgeoisie and the upper class to play with?
I think
I'm
it
seeing
creates.
a lot of.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm seeing a lot of companies offering free classes and free training on generative AI and AI in general. I'm starting to see a whole lot of free training opportunities. And not to mention, there's some generative AIs out there that are free, including ChatGPT's original version is still free.
Mm-hmm. Tell that to the little boy.
I'm
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm with Satya Nadella on this one. I think it opens up the opportunity for a lot of the have-nots, especially around the world, to participate in a global economy. And I think you won't. It also reduces language barriers. It will also make it possible for somebody to kind of market their stuff and not be an expert. In fact, I may not have great command of English and I may be living in, I don't know, downtown Baltimore. I'm randomly picking. But now I can express my ideas in a way that other people can understand it. So I think there's a lot more upside for the have nots than there is downside, but that's just me.
Here's why I think it's different, Alan. I'll take the other side of the argument. I'll take the bait. Is one of the levelers, if you will, is that we all have smartphones. Now, clearly, there's a vast difference in what it takes to run, AI on your smartphone and the new, neural processors versus, the one you might get free from whatever low-cost service. But it's much more accessible to people, and that will make it down into, over the next few years, that'll make it into more and more handsets. So it isn't like you have to have a computer to use the internet, right? Well, I can't afford a $2,000 or $3,000 computer, but I can get a handset. I can get a phone. I can get a used phone, and eventually it'll make it into that. So I think it's the same problem as how many executives still have their secretaries print out their email for them so they can read them and then print out the PowerPoint slides so they can write on them and make changes and someone else does it. There's still people around who do that. And we'll have people who don't use generative AI, and that's just how it goes. But we also will have people we have a generation who's going to grow up with it. And I just expect it'll just be a natural thing that's there.
This is where I'm on our HOA board where we live. And at the HOA meeting this month, the property manager said, listen, I need to raise the price of copies because we, at our board meetings, we give out the board packets with all of the documents you're going to need, the agenda, the budgets, and so forth. Paper's expensive. We're going from 18 cents a copy to 25 cents a copy. But that may not sound alike, but it's going to be about a $6,000 change in your budget. And I raised my hand. I'm the young guy on the HOA board, by the way. But I raised my hand and said, why are we printing out this stuff? You email it anyway. Can't people just look at it on their laptop, their iPad, their phone, and just save a couple of trees here, whether it's 18 cents or 25 cents? You would think I'm blasphemous. I asked them at the table, I said, what do you do with this packet after the meeting? We throw it away. What do? You give it back to the property manager. No one keeps this. Why are we printing this? And so, there is that cultural divide that we need to overcome. Some of it is, I think, age-related. Some of it is socioeconomic related. Some of it is whether you live in Nambia or, I take umbrage with the Baltimore thing, Mike, as a Steelers fan. It's okay. Let them have whatever they have over there. I wouldn't. But anyway, certainly though, on the whole, generative AI, I'll give you one other reason why generative AI should be something we're thankful for. Where the hell would the tech industry be without it? It is generating 60 to 70% of all of our VC funding. It's creating jobs and keeping the lights on at a time where otherwise we'd be in some sort of tech recession with the amount of layoffs we've had. So for that reason and that reason alone, I think we should be thankful for generative AI.
Where would the chip industry be?
Yeah.
Hey,
Intel would be on top.
I just, we're going to be thankful about things from the past as well. I just want to give a shout out to, Mr. and Mrs. Quinlan. They had 4 kids and the only full set of encyclopedia for the whole neighborhood. So there you go.
Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Quinlan, wherever you are. So
Thank
in
God
our
for the
neighborhood,
Quinlan.
it was always a thing between the Britannica versus World Book. I love the World Book, but
I think I don't recall being given a vote, but I believe it was Britannica.
Well, yeah, the Britannica one you can get in the supermarket. You remember you used to do that? You would go in the supermarket every month as another edition. Like first was A, next one's B, and JK.
It could be like Joey and just buy the V volume from on
Joey
Friends.
from Friends. Right, but he's an expert on things with V. Let's move
Anything.
along to the next thing that what we're thankful for, platform engineering. I have some thoughts on this, but I'll let you guys go first. What do you think?
I'll jump in on this one to start the conversation. I think it's filling a much needed function across the SDLC, across our environment. And as just like agents are exploding now, and how the heck are we going to control all those things? Our development did that too. The environments, the tools, the things that we used to do that. And that's not sustainable. And so platform engineering has stepped up and kind of elevated in its stature from being sysadmins or whatever it might have been before to doing some really important jobs. So I'm glad we have it. I think it's super helpful.
I talked to some folks and I was trying to explain it to them and they nodded their head and they said, "Oh yeah, well that sounds good. I think we've been doing that for the last 20
It's
years."
called ops.
So it's sysadmin.
Amanda?
Well,
Gives you more
I
to
don't know what
edit.
else I can add really to it other than, it's kind of like it just has a name given to it now. And now it's a way that they're going.
So again, I'm going to disagree. First of all, if you haven't heard, we've launched platformengineering.com. And we're not quite Dell. We don't jump in till it's $1 billion, a multi-billion dollar market. But, one of the things we've learned is not to try to be too early when we jump into these things. And we waited on platform engineering. I think we saw it go through its DevOps is dead, long live platform engineering phase, and we realized that was all marketing. But I do think platform engineering, yes, it pulls from ops and from things we've done before, but it fills a need, a vacuum within the software development lifecycle, SDLC, of we can't just keep shifting left and throwing shit on the developer's shoulders. You need to set up a platform with guardrails that will, it's like, to me, it's like laying down maglev railroad tracks that allow that maglev train to go 220 miles an hour. If you want the developers to go as fast as they can, you got to give them the environment with the guardrails that allow them to go. And I think that's what platform engineering provides. I mentioned platformengineering.com, our newest site. I'll also make an announcement here today. In the next month, you will see the launch of our newest TV or video series and podcast called The Platform Engineering Show. I will be co-hosting it along with my good friend Luca Galente. If you don't know Luca, he is from Humanitech, but he's also the founder of the platformengineering.org site and community, 300,000 strong. And together, we're going to be illuminating the dark corners of the platform engineering world, as well as the meaty center cut, and bringing it to you. It'll be available on all your favorite Techstrong TV network outlets.
To be honest about it, I also think that, to your point about the quote unquote shit left, the developers started that whole motion themselves, in my opinion, and they're the ones who said we need to get out from underneath centralized IT and we're going to go do this stuff independently. And now I think they realized how big a thing they tried to bite off, and it's just not feasible. So we're trying to find the middle ground here, I think.
Well, and I think that's true, Mike. But with platform engineering, it has a focus that it didn't have before. I mean, we just did sysadmin work. Wherever it was done, somebody did it, right? Now you at least have areas of focus around. It's either a developer portal, DevOps tool chains, its configurations, golden masters, security of those. There are some buckets that you can assign to platform engineering that may or may not have happened before. At least you know who probably should do that or who to talk to about it now. So I think it's given a new kind of discipline to what we used to do.
Yeah, fair. Hey, we can't spend a lot of time on each of these 10 things because we'll never get done. But again, I focus you to go to platformengineering.com and stay tuned for the Platform Engineering Show. It'll be right here on Techstrong TV following some of the gang stuff in the next month. We'll give you more information soon. And there's more coming on platform engineering as well. Webinars, virtual events, Platform Con, of course, is the big event for platform engineering. So more to come on that. Let's shift to our next thing, though, which is things we're thankful for. DevSecOps.
In the interest of time, let's put all the security stuff together.
Let's put all the security stuff together in the interest of time. The gentleman from New York is recognized for 5 minutes. That was like parliamentary move you made there, Michael.
There we go. We got DevSecOps. I think data protection and CISA are all on that list there. Did I miss one?
That's what I'm seeing. Let's run with it. So, first of all, in terms of DevSecOps, we just launched the campaign for sponsors for our 10th annual DevSecOps Connect event at RSA conference. It'll be Monday, I want to say April 28th or 29th, something like that, whatever that Monday is. Once again, in the Moscone Center. This year's theme is DevSecOps and AI, or cybersecurity and AI in AppDev.
April 28th. You got it right.
Yep, April 28th. So mark your calendar. If you're going to RSA, you got a ticket. Come in and see us on Monday all day. If you want to go to RSA, we'll have codes for free Expo Hall passes that'll get you also into our DevSecOps event. But I think back to 10 years ago, Mitch, you weren't even in Techstrong. I had just started Techstrong the year before, and I think I said, hey, you going to RSA? What do you know about DevOps, right? What do you think about DevSec? We didn't even call it DevSecOps. It was rugged DevOps. What do you think about security and DevOps? I said, Mitch, I'm going to be doing something where I'm trying to bring together our security friends, our security community, and the DevOps tribe. Gene Kim, Josh Corman, those folks came to that first one. Actually, I think Gene and Josh spoke there. And I got to tell you, a lot of my friends in cyber said, bullshit. This is marketing. Stop. Jimmy, go back to NAC. But I persevered. I kept saying, no, there's a place for security in DevOps. And I've been preaching that for 10 years. And Mitchell came on board probably the year after that. And we've been preaching it for 10 years. And about 3 or 4 years ago, we hit an inflection point where all of the major DevOps providers said, we're not DevOps, we're DevSecOps. You can't have DevOps without security. Now, whether you had to put the sec in or not in the title, you still had security in there. It was always there. And so I'm really proud of the DevSecOps movement and the impact it's had on how we do software.
Well, kudos to you for sticking to your guns, right? I remember those are the days where security said no to everything.
Yes.
They were skeptical of everything. And there's still some of that skepticism around. I'm not saying it isn't there anymore, but it was like 3 years ago when we were at RSAC. And I remember you and I talking about it, like, you know what? There are vendors here that do DevSecOps or application security, whatever it might be. People are talking about it. It isn't taken over like AI did, whatever, but it's part of the conversation now. And it's even more so. It is part of the dialogue. I think we have a long ways to go though, because we make the same mistake in software that we used to make in security, which was, if I got something for every slot in the rack, I've got security. I got my firewall, I got my load balancer, I got my whatever. And we've kind of took this pigeonhole approach with software. And we now know that things like zero trust and you have to be comprehensive in your security. So we're trying to build up that muscle for AppSec and DevSecOps and supply chain security. So we got a ways to go, but we're on the track anyway. Let's put it that way.
I think Log4j had a lot to do with it. And I think CISA gets a lot of credit here because they're basically been out pounding this drum in a way that people are listening. And yes, there's a few more regulations out there, but I feel like the conversation got elevated. It wasn't just kind of a DevOps conversation anymore. It became a senior level IT conversation and even a board level conversation.
I just had a conversation with the public sector CTO for Illumio about this, and the issue of CISA came up. And I want to remind you all of something. cyber is not a partisan issue. It's bipartisan. As a matter of fact, if we give the devil their due, so to speak, it was the Trump administration that started CISA. Right? It was under Trump that CISA was started. Now, of course, he did fire the head of CISA because he said the election wasn't fixed when he lost, but there is that. But that administration started CISA. Under the Biden administration, we've seen CISA rise to new heights and really catch its stride, if you will, and congratulations to them. The flip side, though, is CISA and these executive orders that both the Trump and Biden administration have put out in the past are just that, executive orders without congressional approval. They weren't mandated by Congress, their budgets and so forth. So, under the current Supreme Court, their ability to promulgate these policies and regulations is somewhat suspect. And one of the things I'd be thankful for is if in the coming year, Congress got off their duff and did something about cyber. It's not a partisan issue. It's something that I think we could come together on as a country. We face nation state warfare out there, critical infrastructure, personal information of U.S. citizens. These are all reasons why we need to come together in a bipartisan way at the congressional level and pass real legislation on cybersecurity and strengthen CISA and these executive orders that have been, kind of fiats, if you will. We need real laws behind them. How's that, Mike? I was pretty good, huh?
Geez, man, I think you're getting ready to salute the new administration.
No, that was my take on wrapping myself in the flag here.
All right. Sounds good, man. No, I think you're spot on though about we might be able to get around that. And who knows, we might also wrap our heads around some consistent AI policies to go with it. Because,
too much to ask for. Too much to ask for. Yeah, well, I don't want to get political, but you got a guy who's going to clean up the government, who's suing OpenAI, who has said it's a threat to humanity, only if he uses it. The other guy says only he could save you. Come on. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. But we can do something on cyber. Data protection. Thank God for the EU. We'll segue right into the EU because they seem to have the political will to do things not only about data protection, but AI as well. And, I think that's something we should be thankful for.
I think a lot of companies now use the EU as kind of the standard. They know they're going to do business in Europe anyway, so they might as well just comply across the board because then they know they'll be in compliance with whatever chaos the various 50 states are going to put together and in the absence of any national leadership. And almost by default now, the EU becomes the place now we look to for these types of rules and regs.
It does, because even if you don't think you do business there, your suppliers do. They're going to be doing it. Maybe in your supply chain of who you're selling to, it's eventually required. So you're right. It is a forcing function. We've talked about this before, and I think Alan, I've said, you don't do things you don't have to do until you have to do it. And this is a forcing function with regulation.
Yeah. It's interesting. I was talking to a CEO of a company a week or two ago. It was regarding lead generation and campaigns and emails and stuff. And I said, how are you dealing with GDPR? How are you in compliance here? This doesn't sound kosher to me. And he was like, oh, well, we don't collect any names or do any business with people in Europe. How do you know? Right? What happens if someone from Europe is on vacation in New York? They're still a European citizen. He's like, oh, I guess you got a point there. Drives home the fact it's a small world after all. And what the EU does is felt here, right? When they stomp their foot, there's a little bit of a tremor here. And until we do have the political will in this country to do what needs to be done on some of these areas, the EU and the state legislature of California is about all we've got.
I feel like since they've already set the president and it makes sense and everybody has to follow it, I don't see why we don't do something pretty similar and just collaborate with the EU.
Because that would take political will. And
You're
also they don't
making
want to
too
be
much
Me
sense,
Too's.
Amanda. Stop that.
Say what?
You're making too much sense, Amanda. Stop that. Come on.
Come on, we would be ceding our national sovereignty to foreigners. That ain't gonna happen.
I say tariffs. No, I don't say tariffs. I'm kidding. All right. So we've hit on CISA. We've hit on the EU, DevSecOps, data protection, of course, is part of that, GDPR and so forth. Let's next look at lower interest rates. So not necessarily a technology thing, though it's extremely impactful on the technology industry, but it's something that's impacting all of us, right? Well, Amanda, not you, but Mike and Mitchell and I are children of irrational exuberance during the dot-com days, right? We were all buying and selling stocks every day. I had a company I helped put together that went public, and we were riding high. And I thought I was going to retire in 2002 or so. And of course, that came to a screeching halt. Interest rates went up. The Great Depression, it took the Great Recession of 2008 to drive interest rates all the way back down to like zero. And then COVID comes and all of that good stuff. And as a result of monetary supply, I guess, we get inflation and interest rates shoot back up. It's probably responsible for who won the election. But just in time now, or maybe a little too late, interest rates are coming back down. You know, good thing for us, good thing for the tech industry. What do you guys think?
Well, not to be the downer, but, the Fed gave it sort of bleeding what it thought it would be doing going into next year. And they were saying they were thinking about quarterly cuts, continuing on top of what they've done. I think the 3 drops so far. But now with tariffs on the horizon, the long-term interest rates are going up. The Fed has said, we'll see. I don't know if we're going to do that. They're going to be more cautious about it. So we may be near the, trough of how many more rate cuts we see or how fast they come. So I'm being a little more cautious about, and though I love having lower rates, I wish they would come sooner, but I'm not sure they will.
I
Well,
kind of feel like there's an odd joining of the hip here where we have to have a recession or a depression to lower interest rates to spur tech innovation. I kind of feel like maybe we could separate those things a little bit in a way that was a more positive cycle or another way to get to lower interest rates rather than just in response to negatives.
Yeah, but
I just know that everybody I'm around is desperate for interest rates to drop. I mean, we're hurting, and as the U.S., most people in the U.S. are hurting, and we need those rates to drop. So hopefully that'll be reflected into government. They'll see that.
It's a couple of things there. First of all, we're hurting a lot less than the rest of the world is, where interest rates haven't dropped back, that even ours have, number one. Number two, monetary policy and the Fed is supposed to be independent of politics, right? They got to do what's best for this economy. And keep in mind, if you invested in QQQ, right, the index fund for the NASDAQ, you went up since 2023. You got a nice fat 90% jump. If you invested in an S&P 500 index fund since 2023, you got a 61% return on your money. That's crazy, even with the high interest rates. That's crazy, not sustainable. That being said, if you are going to bring in tariffs, that's going to bring bring us back to 20% inflation because you're paying 25% on everything that comes from Mexico and Canada, and they reciprocate and cut U.S. exports to those countries. You add another 10% to what's already on China, and you add 6-7% or 10% to European cars and non-American made cars. That's going to raise inflation. And when you raise inflation, they raise interest rates. This is simple economics, right? And you can't decouple interest rates from what's going on in the economy, right? And I'll give you one better. Cut taxes and raise tariffs because you think the tariffs are going to take the place of taxes, and take our $35 trillion budget deficit and bang another 15 on it, and watch what happens to interest rates and watch what happens to T-bills and everything else. You've got, we live in a bizarro world here.
I'll add one more thing to that. There's already a long line of executives lining up in Mar-a-Lago for exceptions to tariffs, so it's not even going to be consistently applied.
Well, it's an oligarchy, and this is what happens in the oligarchy world. I'm sure the yacht builders are busy. I'm sorry, what, Mitch?
No, I mean, you're talking a lot of sense because you're talking Milton Friedman. I mean, going back to your Nobel Prize winner in the 70s, I believe. But, basic economics that's money supply and interest rates. And you start crunching down and adding costs. Guess what? Everything goes up, and they raise the interest rates to try to slow it down.
And then given authoritarian tendencies, you're going to try to bring the Fed under the thumb of the government, and that will be a disaster as well. Right? You might as well let the Chinese Communist Party run things. So that's where we are on lower interest rates. Happy Thanksgiving.
Not happy for tariffs.
No. Let's move along here to something a little less volatile. Alternative social media platforms. Mike, I think you put this one in.
I did, and clearly there are things happening on the major ones that are, shall we say, not conducive to conversation. But I feel like there's new ones starting to emerge, and some are right and some are left leaning. But I feel like maybe we're getting away from being overly dependent upon too few big tech companies in this space. And perhaps there is opportunity for, my son's on Discord all the time, and I think there's a one called, is it Blue Sky? Is that the new one?
Blue Sky is a Twitter, yeah.
Open source. I feel like every time there's a contraction somewhere, there's an opposite reaction, as it were. I'm sure that that's not quite a law of physics, but I'm hopeful that coming year we might be having conversations in more places.
Can't we have social media that isn't right-leaning or left-leaning?
Would be nice, wouldn't it?
I think that's part of the issue. I almost wish we could take politics out of social media. I think it's a genie that came out of the bottle and has been a rotten genie. Look, if you go to my Twitter, X, whatever the hell you want to call it, handle, it says that I post nothing personal here. This account is strictly for work-related items because X is a cesspool. And I firmly believe that, and I don't post there. Is Facebook and/or LinkedIn better? Well, LinkedIn I think is a little better, though it does get spammy, certainly. But there's a lot less political discourse on LinkedIn. It's more
right.
But I think LinkedIn is more professional. LinkedIn, I use it more for a professional basis, whereas Facebook and Instagram and things like that are more of a personal.
People are fed up with the others, so they're starting to do more personal stuff on LinkedIn, I notice. And at the same time, the Facebooks and the X's of the world admit that they are limiting external links because they're trying to keep eyeballs on their content, which makes them just another media company. So I'm kind of looking for something that allows us to have a conversation about content, regardless of where it came from, in some sort of format that is civil.
Yeah, a neutral social media platform.
Who has a Blue Sky account?
I don't have one.
Amanda.
I don't have one.
All right. We'll
I
get you a
have too
link.
many social media accounts already. I don't need more to keep up with.
Well, I don't even monitor my Twitter account anymore. Like
in all honesty, Alan, I have my X account, my Twitter account. The main reason I keep it because I don't want someone else grabbing
my name.
my
Me
ID.
too, because I
Yeah,
like
I
a
am.
shimmy.
Yeah.
I keep my X account. I'm still active on it just because I refuse to cede the ground entirely.
So I think it's going to be interesting to see. You let the wolf watch the hen house here. What's going to happen in the coming years around this issue? It's going to be interesting. But you know what and I saw Chuck Todd do. I was at an event Chuck Todd spoke at years ago, and he said it was going to take at least 12 years for the public to kind of catch up to social media, see how they're being manipulated, and learn how to get smart about it. And it may even take a generation, because 12 years is about a generation. And maybe we're at that generational divide, because like my kids, for instance, you mentioned your son Mike's on Discord. My kids, they Facebook is for people my age. The only reason they look at Twitter is if sports personalities they follow post something. Otherwise, they don't use that. They use Instagram. They watch TikTok, but they're much more savvy about that stuff than we are.
My other children call it Boomer Book.
Yeah, I know. I'll be honest. I post less and less on Boomer Book. I
don't
used
post
to, if I
anything
went
on it.
somewhere or I was on a trip, I'd post. But unless someone posts something and tags me, I don't initiate a lot of posts anymore. It's just kind of lost. The bloom is off the rose for me. I went on Blue Sky. And I followed a bunch of people I know on Blue Sky. Again, it bees what it bees.
The
Interesting
thing is,
one note
there's
about
so
Blue
many
Sky.
people on Facebook. I stay on Facebook to follow and, keep up with everyone I know. And I feel like a lot of those other social media sites are still kind of niche, and there's not going to be a whole lot of people I know
Yeah, well,
on any of
that's
those.
the
Which is
problem, is
what keeps me there.
getting critical mass. That's the
Yeah.
problem with Blue Sky, Mastodon, all of those things. You get Threads, which is Facebook's version of Twitter. It's just a critical mass situation. And do they become too far left leaning, too far right leaning, too animal friendly, too I hate animals? It's just tribalism at work here.
You were talking, Alan, about security is not a partisan issue, right? There's actually a group of people. That's how I got on just Blue Sky. It was out of security community.
Yes,
said, "Let's
they've
go
moved
over
there
this
off
platform."
Twitter.
And whether it stays there or goes somewhere else, but people are looking for a neutral platform, I believe.
Oh, absolutely. I think we all want that. It's just getting that critical mass to get there. All right, we got one more here. The Futurum Group. So as we sit here on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, I'm happy to announce that we are really close to consummating our merger with the Futurum Group. If you've watched any of our Techstrong activities for the last couple of months, we've been working pretty closely with them already. Mitchell is a VP at Futurum Group, heading up their analyst practice for DevOps and security and so forth. Advisory service, I guess is the word. Look, Daniel Newman, the CEO at Futurum, I consider a friend, and I enjoy working with Daniel. There's many, many people at Futurum Group that we work with. Steve Foskett, who's out here on the gang, and Guy Courier, and Lisa Martin, and a lot of our gang members are Futurum people. So I'm really thankful for that, and I'm looking forward to this year being a great year with Techstrong and the Futurum Group and Tech Field Day and Visual Impact and all of the good folks we've been working with.
Absolutely.
It's kind of re-energizing in a way of, here's a collection of companies that have come together at different points in time, as part of growing Futurum. And the challenge for whether you're an individual, thought leader or kind of influencer, or you're, in the executive ranks of the company, it's about getting the multiplier factor, right? I mean, how do you really leverage the fact that you can do this and maintain the integrity of what the analysts do or what Techstrong does, the journalism, all sides of that. But there's a huge opportunity to do something new and be excited about that as well. So I think that's Daniel's got that vision, and I think all of us have a picture into it, or a little or a bigger one, but that's what's exciting about it.
There's been a lot of good work in the last few months, and we're not even joined at the hip yet. So I'm looking forward to what the next year is going to bring, because we can do a lot more things once we actually get the deal signed.
We're just getting started.
I'm working on it. If I ever get off of these videos, I'll be able to get some work done on it. So, guys, a couple minutes left. I wanted to give each of you a chance to personally say what you're thankful for. Mitch, if you don't mind, you want to kick off?
Oh, I'd love to. I just feel like this is a great time to be alive. There's a lot of things happening. There's things I don't like and don't agree with, but there's a lot more things that I appreciate about being in the world and the time we are. And I've got kids and grandkids and my wife, Jody. I've got a great life, and nothing's perfect, and life brings you challenges, but I feel like I'm very blessed for all the things. And I'm thankful to all of you. Working with colleagues who are really our friends and colleagues is a blessing. Something that many of us that came to Techstrong, that was one of the reasons, Alan, why we joined up with you, is to work with people we like to work with. So lots of great things.
Well, I got the family back together in New York, so that's always a great thing to kind of be very happy about. But, to quote some old Saturday Night Live skit, tech has been very, very, very good to me, and I'm very thankful.
Very, very good for you. Good for you. Amanda?
I'm thankful for my family. I'm thankful for our good health. And I'm thankful for Techstrong Group and being able to be a part of this wonderful company.
Thank you. So, Mitch and I, well, he's a little older than me. Don't let him kid you. He's got me by about 4 months.
There's a lot of wisdom in those 4 months that I gave.
But, as I sit here today, and Mitchell and I have both been on a journey of health, and we're healthier than we've been in a long time. Not good, as they say. So I'm thankful for that, right? And I'm hoping that continues. I'm wearing my Yankee hat today. I'll tell you something. Up until about the year 2000, for the last 75 years before that, so from 2025 to 2000, those were 75 years. The Yankees were in about 25, I think they won 25 world championships in those 75 years, thereabout. 1 out of every 3 years, the Yankees were the World Series champions. In the 25 years since 2000, we haven't done so good. I think we've won one. Has it been one championship, Mike, 2008 or 9?
Yeah, I think one.
Yeah. So not an anomaly for Yankees. But hey, we were back in the World Series this year, and I'm hopeful we're going to sign Juan Soto no matter how much money the Mets give him. And we're going to be back in the World Series next year. My Pittsburgh Steelers are having a season that no one thought we'd have. And that's a fantastic thing, because I find sports to be such a release for me to get away from the, news cycles and all of the chaos that we live in. I'm also thankful, last night, both of my boys are home. Landon and Bradley came home. And for those of us who are parents out there listening, a parent never sleeps as well, right? When their kids are in their bed where they're supposed to be. So I was happy for that. And that's it. I'm happy for the Future thing and for Techstrong, and looking forward to a great year. All right. We going to end it?
Sure.
All right. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. You've watched Techstrong Gang. Stay tuned for the rest of Techstrong TV coming your way.